My name is Ryan Lott of the band Sunlux. I am here in Los Angeles recording a string quartet from the London Contemporary Orchestra. So I'm basically caught in a dream. The idea behind the song was because this was a celebration of this new software tool that they've developed. I said, okay, what if I write the song starting just with LCO Producer Strings as my tool? It's quite meta, but what if I make this just with LCO Producer Strings, and then I write some string parts for the LCO strings to perform with me? And that's what we did, and it was really rad. And then now, after today, we have proof that the dream happened. What we did today is we recorded a song that I started by being inspired by the LCO Producer Strings. I had no ideas. All I had was this software queued up, and I just started sifting through presets, letting my fingers fall on the keys. Immediately, I was really inspired. I found that immediately it happened. Like I had it, And I think that's because there's just a lot of life imbued in the sounds. You start from a place that's living, you're not hunting for it, you're not wrestling with the software to make something that feels like it has a lot of life. It just has a lot of life. It was like a collaboration with LCO from the start, Immediately, I knew, because of my experience working with the LCO and with Hugh, the lead orchestrator, I knew that the emotional vocabulary of this library was going to be stellar. I knew that it was going to come with tons of intention, tons of purpose. Every sound was going to be there for a reason. The London Contemporary Orchestra has a really unique fingerprint, and it's on so much music that I love. When we got to work with them for the Thunderbolt score, I was like, oh, this is crazy. This is our chance. This is my chance to have that same fingerprint on our music. In music, a lot of times ideas have to be reduced to what can be notated on a page or sort of communicated quickly, because the recordings clock is ticking and you only have so much time to rehearse and whatever. So there are just articulations, or there are ideas or sounds that we all know and we share. But then there's a whole nother level of kind of intention, and there's really an infinite amount of gradient between those articulations. And what's great about the London Contemporary Orchestra is that they are in the business of finding all of those gradients. And I think that's on display here. One of my ongoing fascinations as a composer and producer is just balancing opposites, maintaining a sense of two opposite things or two opposing forces. When you're working in a DAW, it's like always telling you this is the grid, right? This, if you've got a tuner pulled up, it's like, this is in tune. You gotta resist that. I mean, I feel like, again, music has to live and breathe. So if your starting point is living and breathing performances, then it's a lot easier to push against that frame, And so when I'm looking for new software tools, I'm always looking for ones that are already kind of leaning in that direction. The articulations I am drawn to most in LCO Producer Strings are the ones, there's a kind of statement inside of the sound, and that statement, because it exists on its own, has its own life. Whenever you're using it in the context of a DAW or a song that you're working on, it's inherently going to push against that song and the grid of your ideas, and that's kind of the point. That's why I love those things. Recently, when I pulled up the LCO Producer Strings to sort of kind of shock the system, maybe if I'm stuck or something, it's so useful to have a collection of sounds that at the heart are really well curated and to turn to, a dash of the unexpected. And a couple times very recently, LCO Producer Strings definitely came in handy for me. The nature of how we make music now is so collaborative. And I mean, it always has been, but even more so because it really involves so many different kinds of people across the technological spectrum. So every time I sit down and I'm like working with a piece of software that just gives me a lot of life, like LCO Producer Strings, I'm just reminded, that this is a family effort. And in this case, because I have a great experience working with LCO in real life, it's so sweet. Pull up this plugin and like I think of my friends, but I hear them too, and that's so rad. And it's a good reminder we're all in it together. Takes all kinds. The coder nerds, composer nerds, the orchestrator nerds, the violin nerds, and they're all together on LCO Producer Strings. One of the things that's pretty cool about LCO Producer Strings is it does posit orchestral articulations and explicitly orchestral fragments of a performance with synth patches and different types of instruments that are derived from the orchestra, but they kind of puts them on even playing field, And I think it's a very right now way of thinking. It's definitely the way I've always thought, and I've for a long time felt like a bit unique in that way, I guess. It's really nice to have a software tool that puts them on even playing fields, Like that this synth patch is an orchestral patch. This orchestral patch is a synth patch. And I think the layout and the way that they're just the mind behind it, I think that's what it does. That's how it feels, at least to me. And so presented with this sort of playground, this sort of color palette of things, to be able to so quickly and easily combine them is really empowering, and it can make things really fast. So when you're looking for a kind of like story inside of sound or inside of a moment of music, whether you're writing for picture or for a story, or you're just producing a record, supporting a song or whatever, you can create a story really quickly. You can have all these different parts of a story that come together in a single sound. There's absolutely no substitute for working with an orchestra. Live orchestra, human beings in a room, making music together. It's absolute magic. So something like this isn't a replacement for that. If anything, what a tool like LCO Producer Strings does is highlight that there are so many ways in which the orchestra can be valuable. Not just sitting in front of the orchestra in a big fancy recording studio, yes, but also in your laptop, bringing lots of life and value to the things, your ideas. And it's still uniquely orchestral.